Evening all, Kieran here, back with another podcast, this time a weekend preview of the racing at Ascot, Haydock and obviously the King Mile Hurdle at Wincanton. Before I start off, a bit of housekeeping though. Thanks to all the guys that watched the video last week, and obviously thanks to some of the guys who actually shared the video, and some of their followers watched the video. Very kind of you all to share the video, that was very kind, and thanks again. I had 60 views of the last video, so hopefully pick up a few more this week and hopefully a few more winners. Obviously we had a nice 16-1 winner last week with Royal Margot at Warwick in the listed mares hurdle, so we'll go again this week, covering again all the ITV races that are on, and a few that I fancy. Obviously I'll be taking on quite a few favourites as I normally do, and we should go from there. So firstly, starting with the main meeting, which is Ascot, starting with the 1:15 handicap hurdle. Bective Abbey for Nicky Henderson is 7-2 favourite. First start of the season after a bit of a layoff after winning at Doncaster. Obviously, I'm not going to be backing him. I'll be taking him on, and I quite fancy, which the one's actually in the current here at second favourite, and that's Thank You Mum of the Nicholses, and not Paul Nicholses. I think it's Georgia Nichols that trains it, and Olive Nichols rides. Obviously, won last time out over course and distance very impressively, and despite the fact that he's got to carry 12 stone in this race, I think 3 miles has definitely been the making of him. He's second the time before at Ascot and then won last time out. So definitely could be a horse that I feel that could still be potentially in front of his mark. And 9-1 is definitely an each way play in the first race for sure. I'm sure you'll get 4 or 5 places on the day, but we'll see come Saturday morning what the bookies are kindly giving us. Moving on to the 1:50, the Rennersham Novices Chase. Jinko Blue again for the Hendersons, 6-5 favourite. But I actually fancy he's fairly strong. Obviously, Larry's Bar reopposes from their race at Windsor. But I'm actually going to oppose them both, and I'm going to back Peaky Boy, who's actually going to have his first run for the O'Neill stable after leaving the Henderson stable. Obviously, change of ownership as well. And now goes for the O'Neills. It was a nice performance second time up this season at Cheltenham, finishing third behind Haiti Calours, who I fancy for the National Hunt Chase, and Transmission as well was in second, good finishing second in that race, and obviously he's fancied as well for the National Hunt Chase, so it could be decent form there for Peaky Boy. And he comes here, obviously he went off favourite that day for the race for the Hendersons, now obviously with the O'Neills. And he's currently best priced 8-1. I think he might be worth a swing. Potentially, they could be trying to get the run into him. Obviously, new stable, new connections, but I'd be willing to take a chance on him at 8-1 because potentially the two at the top of the market could have bigger prospects in mind. Obviously, Larry's Bar is in the ultimate at Cheltenham, so that's Peaky Boy for the Reynolds Town for the O'Neill team. Moving on to the handicap hurdle. I believe it's over 2 miles, and you got Alzabelli and Joy Marchand of the Skeltons and Harry Fry's. Don't fancy either. I know Joy Marchand's first. This is going to be, I think it's his third run for the Skeltons after coming over from Ireland, and Alzabelli actually won well last time out of course and distance, but I'm willing to take them both on. And this is a horse that I've quite fancied all season since his run at Chepstow, where he was catching 5th at Chepstow in the Silver Trophy, and it's Patriotic of Evan Williams's. Now the stable's been going well. They're double yesterday up at Hereford, and they've had a couple. I think they had another winner today as well. Stable in good form. Second last time out at Aintree in the fog on Boxing Day, finishing second to Red Dirt Road of John O'Neill's, who's since come out and won again at Sandown. Third that day was Uncle Bert, who then went and won at Haydock the next time. So the form looks strong, and Patriotic, he was a very eye-catching closing, as much you could see at Aintree when finishing second on that day. Obviously he was eye-catching finisher in the Silver Trophy when finishing 5th as well. He's only had one. This is now up to he's only had one try at 3 miles. I think 3 miles is more going to be his bag, but this is 2.5 miles. Potentially off a strong pace, he could come into the mix, come in late and strong down the outside maybe. So I'm willing to take a chance each way on him. He's currently best priced 8 to 1. Obviously, like I said, with the other handicap, we will see what placings we get on the day. But he's probably going to be my strongest fancy for the weekend, I think. He's definitely got a race in him, definitely off this mark. And he's worth chancing for sure. So that's Patriotic for Evan Williams. We then move on to the handicap chase over 3 miles. And then Victorino of Venetia Williams and Hastings of, I believe it's the O'Neills, both joint favourites at 4 to 1. I don't mind, obviously Victorino's won over course and distance previously this season. But again, I'm going to take these two on this one. Actually, with the next one in the betting, it's Teresina of Lucy Wadhams. Won very nicely last time over 2 mile 4, and Kane are absolutely travelling like the best horse in the race and went away from at the finish. Obviously, this is a step up to 3 miles, which the way he finished out his race last time over 2.5, I'd have no issue with him getting the 3 miles, I wouldn't have thought. And again, another strong pace to travel at. He'll sit off the pace and potentially come there with a late rattle on the outside. The form of the race that he won at Ascot potentially took a boost over the weekend just gone with Hitman, who finished second in the race. Was second again, obviously in a Grady race in the game Spirit up at not the game. It was the Denman Chase, wasn't it? Second in at Newbury the weekend just gone. And then Phlegmatic was actually in the race as well, who finished third in the race, and he went and finished second up at Kempton last Friday. Was he kept second? Or second or third last Friday. So the form looks fairly strong for Teresina, and I'd be willing to take him again 7 to 1. So see what place turns we get, potentially another each way bet in the making. And then moving on to the big race of the meet of the day, the feature race of the day is the Ascot Chase, where Pic D'Orhy won the race last year. He's currently 7 to 4 favourite for this race now. He normally mops up most of these races. But like with all of the favourites for this video, I'm going to be taking him on. I'm going to be taking him on with the Irish Raider, not Corbett's Cross, who is second favourite in here for Emmett Mullins. I'm going to take it on with the Willie Mullins horse, and that's Blue Lord, currently priced up at 12 to 1. Now I've noticed there's a bit of money for him since the declaration. He was as big as 25 to 1 this afternoon. Now in as big as, can only get as big as 12 to 1. There's a bit of money around. I think he's been running over 2 miles the first 2 starts this season. And I think he's getting a bit outpaced the older he gets. I think he needs a bit more of a trip. So this 2.5 miles, which he's won over previously, will certainly suit him, I think, better. And I think 12 to 1 is far too big for him. And obviously, Willie Mullins sending horses over to Ascot in a feature race, you've got to stand up and take notice, I think. So 12 to 1 for Blue Lord. And then moving over to Haydock. Got 3 races from Haydock, and then the Kingwell Hurdle at Wincanton to go. The first race is the 205 at Haydock, the Veterans Handicap Chase, where Notre Vallis is 3 to 1 favourite. Actually, there's quite a bit of a form line between the two top 2 in the betting and the horse I fancy. The Flyer Begley, who's second favourite, won the race at Market Raising when the Tour of Vallis was second, and the Edgar Wallace, who actually fancied to turn the tables here for Kim Bailey, was third. And he was beaten 11 lengths that day, but didn't jump the best, to be honest, the Edgar Wallace. And I think I'm going to give him another chance here, getting a bit of a weight swing as well with the 2 at the top of the market, and potentially can make up the ground that he lost in the last race. And he potentially could be overpriced. He's 8 to 1 here. He gets a £10 swing actually off of both the Fly Begley and the Tour of Vallis, and I think 8 to 1. I think there's currently 8 or 9 runs in the field, so again he could definitely be an each way play in that market. I don't normally get much stuck into veterans races, but last couple of weekends I thought I'd have a little bit of a go. So yeah, that's the Edgar Wallace for Kim Bailey, who I think's got a decent chance in a couple of races up at Haydock this weekend. Obviously, one race I won't be covering is the Albert Bartlett race, which I think is the 350. And I fancy, obviously, my boy Moon Rocket will be running in the race, so he will definitely have a big chance for the same for the stable as well. Hopefully he goes and does the job. But moving on to the next race on ITV at Haydock, and it's the 240, the Rendlesham Hurdle. Now Beauport's in here at 2-1 favourite. Now this is how bad this division is. That Beaufort, who's technically really a chaser, obviously ran a big race in the long walk last time at Ascot. But the fact that he's 2-1 favourite, you have to be taking him on. He's definitely down more as a chaser than a hurdler, but can't be having him at 2-1, no way whatsoever. And there's one in here I like definitely, and there's one I'm also going to mention at a massive price that could run a big race. The one I like is Nemean Lion of Kerry Lee's. Now she's very good at placing her horses. She could have easily gone. This horse was double engaged at both this race and the Kingwell Hurdle over at Wincanton. Comes here, which I think is a bit of a tip in itself, and I think he could potentially run a big race in a decent field. Be willing to take on the favourite. The second favourite is Botock Haas. I'll be taking him on as well. I think he's getting a bit leggy. And then there's a few others in here that you could easily take on in the race for sure. So yeah, I would definitely give Nemean Lion a chance in this race. Currently best price 6-1. I think that's big, and probably would be my next best bet of the weekend behind Patriotic. But we'll wait and see what prices we get on Saturday morning. The other one I will mention in this race is actually the rag of the race, and it's at the current price, and that's Kerry Hill at 25-1. Now I mentioned this horse in my Cheltenham Trials Day video. I actually put him up on Trials Day, and he was gambled from 20s into 8s, and then was pulled out due to the ground. Obviously the ground got too quick that day. Obviously down at Haydock, you wouldn't expect it to be too quick at Haydock. Potentially, if he takes his chance, I think 25-1 could also be a big price about him. So I may put them both up for the race, but we shall see come Saturday morning. And then the last race I'm going to touch on is the 3:15, the Grand National Trial. Now this is a trial only by name, because I don't think any of these horses are actually in line to get into the National, to be honest. But we'll call it the Grand National Trial because that's what it is. Jubilee Express is in here at 5-1 favourite. Won nicely over course and distance last time for sure, and does look a decent favourite to be fair. But like I've done all video, I've been going to take him on, and I found one a bit further down, and it's Famous Bridge. Currently best price 9-1. He actually went off favourite when he ran in this race last year, and was going really well until seating 3 out. He went off 9-2 favourite that day. Obviously travelling really well before unseating his rider. He's actually comes here off £3 lower than what he did when he went off that day as well. So potentially could be well handicapped. He's run alright this season, finishing second in one race and third in another. So you can't say he's been running badly this season. And I'll probably take a chance on him at 9-1. Again, you might get 4th place in this race. I know Man's coming across for Gavin Cromwell. He's got a very good strike rate. I think he won this race last year actually. Man, but he's got a decent strike rate, Cromwell, when he sends one over to Britain, as we know. And he's got very low weight as well, to be fair, but I'll be taking him on with Famous Bridge. And then the last race I'm going to touch on is over at Wincanton, the Kingwell Hurdle, where Burdett Road is currently 4-6. Now, 4-6 is definitely not all I'm willing to get involved in at 4-6, especially if we don't get the quick ground that he really needs. I think he wants it, not quick ground, but he wants good ground, definitely Burdett Road. And also he's going to have one eye on potentially on the Champion Hurdle. This may be his prep for the Champion Hurdle. So I'm not sure if he'll be fully wound up for this. So I'm going to speculatively take him on with the second favourite, which is Golden Ace, who I don't think has run particularly badly this season, but she just hasn't been as good as what maybe people thought she was going to be at the start of the season. Obviously finishes second and third respectively on her 2 starts. Potentially maybe this could be her day rather than, and then they sidestep Cheltenham. Obviously she is in the Champion Hurdle. She's obviously in handicaps as well. but maybe they will go full guns for this race and then start maybe sidestep the festival and think about Aintree potentially. So 11-4, I'd be willing to back her against Burdett Road, but nothing against Burdett Road. I think he's a hell of a horse. I think he's going to potentially run into a place at Cheltenham if he runs. I really do, especially if the two mares go to the mares race. I think Burdett Road's got a good chance of placing the champion hurdle. So that's all the races covered. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you could like and subscribe to the channel, that'd be lovely. I'm trying to bolster, I think I'm at about just over 50 subscribers now. If you could all subscribe, a few more subscribers to the channel, that'd be great. Like and subscribe. If you could also share the video as well on social media, that'd be great. Get a bit more of a following for me. I'm only a small podcast compared to some, so that'd be lovely. And thanks again for listening, guys, and happy punting.